Perfect. Hello and welcome to the Mastermind, Body, and Spirit Show. I'm your host, Matt Belair. If you want to support this show, please take a moment to leave a review in iTunes, share episodes, consider becoming a member at mattbelair.com for free or by donation, and most importantly, consider doing 3 kind acts wherever you are in the world today. Today's guest was taken out by the 2008 real estate crash, and he lost everything. He turned to drinking and lost the house, the cars, the toys, the money, and worst of all, custody of his children. After he got sober, he jumped back into the mortgage business and had massive financial success. As a coach, he trained realtors on lead generation and sales, and yet, even after he had achieved all his goals and he had all the money he wanted, he was still unfulfilled. He felt empty. This is when God stepped in. He told him that his purpose was much bigger than that. He told him that his purpose was much bigger than what we were doing, and that if he had the courage to listen to his direct guidance, he would be massively emotionally fulfilled and finally be living his true calling. This is where Godspeed with Daniel was born. Now he lives a life of true fulfillment that most men could only dream of. Not only have the money, the body, and health, and the love of his life, but also waking up every day to talk with God and live his true purpose. Welcome to the show, Daniel Krynzel.
Thanks for having me, Matt. I'm so excited to be a part of this.
I'm excited to have you here. I haven't butchered a bio like that in a while, so my apologies to you and the listeners, but I did get through. That's normally also why I keep it nice and short, so I don't have to read through, something that's long. But, your story is fascinating. I only know a little bit from what they sent in the kit, so I'd love for you to just share a little bit about your background. You've kind of, from my view anyway, I'm unfamiliar with your work, come out of nowhere with a really just profound shift and a profound insight. I'd love for you to kind of just share a little bit about your journey with the audience.
Absolutely. I'd like to start when I'm 13 in Ohio. Growing up, I was in business as a 13-year-old. I started mowing lawns as a business. My dad was we moved into this big house and it came with a riding lawnmower. And he told me, I'm going to pay you $1 every time you cut the grass. It was like child labor laws he was breaking, obviously. But I was cutting the grass and I realized that if I cut the grass twice a week, he paid me double. And then I realized, wait a minute, I kind of like doing this. I like riding lawnmower and doing this. I'm going to get some more jobs. So I printed some flyers and used my home phone number as my office number. And my mom is my receptionist. And as I'm 13, I built a business. And it was successful, like very successful, to a point to where I had enough cash to buy my first car when I was 16, my own money. And man, off I went as an entrepreneur. And I was always a baseball guy. So my dad blessed us with a batting cage wherever we lived in the backyard. So I would always be hitting buckets of baseballs, and then I'd be mowing grass, or I'd be playing baseball, or I would be going to school. Like that was my schedule. And I carried that on through high school and college. And then I got in the mortgage business after college, after baseball was over. And I had a lot of success, Matt. Like it was the times were great in the mortgage industry. I remember 2006 and 2007, I owned my own mortgage company. We were killing it. And I remember something that happened though. And it was, I look back at this and it was something that I like to talk about, which was, I had like this thought in my head. Like I had all these toys and all this money and all this success, but like, I wasn't like happy. It was really weird. Like, I don't know, if you've heard this from some of your other guests or, even from yourself, Matt, but like, I wasn't happy. I was just thinking I made all this money and I was making all this money, but like, what else can I do? Like, what else should I do? Like, I don't think the mortgage business is like it for me. And literally making, I had $1 million business. I was the boss. Everything was going great. And I was like, what else am I supposed to be doing? And So I jumped into a network marketing business. Network marketing was something that was just like running rampant in the US at that time. And I jumped on a team, and I thought I could replace my mortgage income with a network marketing company, and I couldn't, because I was making a lot of money on the mortgage side. But I remember like it was like more fun to do the network marketing, but it wasn't a lot of money. But I still was like not happy with where I was. So I was trying to figure out like, what do I do? And then March of 2008 came around, and our mortgage industry flipped upside down. Like, I know that, you're based out of Canada, Matt, now. Do you remember 2008? Did you guys had some effects in Canada, didn't you, with the real estate industry?
Yeah, it definitely happened here, but I wasn't a homeowner. I was more vagabonding around the world, so it didn't affect me as much.
Yeah. I owned a home, a massive home, and I had a lot of money out. I had some investments, but the main thing was like I was doing loans. I was the one that was writing the loans for a lot of the individuals that were purchasing, especially in Nevada, where I was living at the time. And we went from making all this money, and like the faucet got turned off like overnight, like no more deals. And I had a lifestyle created around it, and I wasn't able to keep that floating. So like foreclosure, bankruptcy, repo, like everything happened in my life. And even the mother of my children, she left, she took the kids. So I ended up on my dad's couch, and went from millionaire to living on my dad's couch, drinking every single day, every moment of the day. Like I didn't want to feel anything. And this isn't like a victim story. Like I'm not a victim. I chose not to figure it out. It was rough for a couple of years, just sitting there, not doing anything.
You went through that for a couple of years.
I did. It was like almost exactly 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, it was rough, but I don't really like spending a lot of time there because it's so far. It was so long ago for me. Like the calendar wise, it was long ago, but also like I've had so much happen in my life since then that like there's exciting things to talk about now. Like I want everyone to know like what happened, but really like it was July 7th, 2010, where my life changed forever. I remember the sidewalk that I was on, and I couldn't stop drinking, and I knew I had to stop. I had no custody of the kids. I had no place to live other than my dad's couch. Like I'm dying inside, and I'm drinking like profusely. And I look up into the sky, and I'm like, God, I need to stop. Can you help me like stop drinking? And like I had like a burning bush like realization, like it happened for me. Like I felt like God like take it away from me. Like I didn't want to drink or use drugs ever again. And I've been sober as a result of that day. And as me asking that question for God, like I haven't drank, I haven't wanted to drink since. It's been pretty incredible. So a lot of other things happened since then. I got back into the mortgage business because I knew like that's what I knew. I knew how to make money in that industry. So I was gunning, man. I had to start a new business completely over, because most of the people that I was in business with in 2006 and 7, like they weren't in business anymore in 2010, just like I wasn't. But I got back in, I had to build a new business, and I had a lot of success. The thing was though, if you remember, I was telling you, Matt, like I even when I had the success before the crash, I was always wondering like, what else should I be doing? Like this doesn't feel right. Like I'm making money. Back then it just didn't feel right. Now I'm making money again. It doesn't feel right. Like I'm not hurting people. Like I'm doing great service for these homeowners. Like it's beautiful what I'm doing, but like I didn't feel right. And it was like I was empty inside. I was making a bunch of money, but I was empty. So what I did was I started like hiring coaches, like coach after coach after coach, like help me. Like I remember like hiring this first coach, and the coach was like gonna help me like build a business, like build a stage business. Like I was gonna like speak on stages and do that. So I remember doing that, and I remember spending like 50,000 and then 100,000 with this coach. And I'm like spending like serious money. And then like, okay, well, I got some stuff out of this coach, but I still like didn't get what I was looking for. So I hired another coach. That other coach was like over 100 grand for the next 12 months. And I kept spending all this money and buying all these programs and being a part of all these masterminds. And like, I was having success. Like I would like I would pay for the coach that would like help me with marketing, right? And I would like get good at the marketing, or I would hire the coach to like help me like steer me in the right industry, or I would hire the coach, um, to figure out how to market what it was that I wanted to sell. Or I'd hire the coach to like help me like scale or build a sales team or whatever it was. And like they helped, but I was still like, I was missing something. Like I remember I built like this online business that was helping realtors. Because remember, I was in that industry, so I knew them really well, and I was helping them on marketing themselves and building a better, profitable business for themselves. And I was helping them with getting listings and making sales and things like that. And I still felt the same thing, like empty inside. Like there was something missing. I was making money in the mortgage business, I was making money in the coaching business, and I was just empty. Like, have you ever felt like that, where like you like hit a target, Matt, or you like hit a goal and then you're like, shit, this is it? Like, this is all I get? Like,
Well, I've heard that a lot on the podcast, but it's always been funny for me where I did it the opposite way, where I was like doing what I was most excited to do. And then I always had to like figure out how to make money to do those things. So it was like a reverse battle where my buddies, most people would get the money and like, oh, I don't have enough time to snowboard or travel or whatever. But
Yeah.
I do know there's been times where I was done with the thing that I was doing, so
Yeah.
it's like, I remember snowboarding specifically. There's a time where I said, look, as much as I love this, I thought I was going to snowboard for the rest of my life and I was going to be a professional snowboard coach and do that all day, every day, forever. It was like, this is done. Like, this doesn't give you the same feeling that it once did, and you need to shift. And that's when I traveled and shifted.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can relate at that level, which is cool, because some people I tell the story and they're like, "What? You weren't happy? You were making all this?" I'm like, "No, I wasn't." Like,
I wish I look forward to that issue for
yeah,
that's not what
yeah, it's like a problem of the abundance,
Right.
that was going on. It was just like, look, a lot of times I've seen this like over and over again. Like, it's first like I want to make a bunch of money, and then once the money comes in, it's like, all right, now I want to have purpose. Now I want to have meaning behind like my money. And I was there. The first round when I was drinking and partying and had really no relationship with God, before the mortgage crash. And then I have a relationship with God, but not close relationship. And then like I'm making a bunch of money again, and I still feel the same way. Then I even get in a different industry and I still feel like there's something missing. The coaching industry was cool, but it was still like there was like a hole in my chest that I couldn't fill, regardless on like what I would buy. Start buying all this stuff, again, and motorcycles and race cars and motorhomes and stuff. And it just, I don't know. I go on vacation. Something was missing. So I made a decision that I was going to walk with God every day. And what I mean by this is like, I was going to start strategically walking with God every single day and asking God what I was supposed to do with my life. Like asking God, like, what's my purpose? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to make money? How am I supposed to make the impact on the world that I want to make? Like, how do I do this? And I started walking with God, and some things changed. I figured out like what my purpose was. Like a lot of people that are listening right now probably are relating to this right now. Like they're thinking, yeah, what am I supposed to do? Like, what is my purpose? What am I truly supposed to do, like in my life? Like, how am I supposed to show up as a business owner or an employee or whatever it is that you do for work? Like, how am I supposed to show up? What industry am I supposed to be in? Like, how am I supposed to make the impact? How am I supposed to make money? How am I supposed to treat my body? How am I supposed to lift? How am I supposed to eat? Like, how am I supposed to have fun time? Like, how are my relationships supposed to look like? Like, how am I supposed to be a father or a husband or whatever it is? Like, I was asking all these questions because I didn't know. Like, I was searching for like the answers to my life. And it wasn't like searching for answers to make money. It was searching for answers to be like complete and to be fulfilled. And as a result of me doing that, my life changed exponentially. Like it changed to a point to where first thing that happened was like, as I'm walking with God and I'm like asking him, What am I supposed to do in my relationships? What am I supposed to do with my business and my financial purpose? What am I supposed to do with my body and health? Like my soulmate shows up, like the woman that like God made for me, like the woman that would change everything for me. Like I've been married before. I've kids, like, but I was never in a relationship like I am now, and in a relationship like that was created off of the basis of me asking God what I'm supposed to do and what directions and steps I'm supposed to take. So this woman shows up in my life, and this was like the first aha moment that like I was on to something, like strategically walking with God and like consistently on a daily basis asking him like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next in my money? What's next in my body? What's next in my relationships? Like I would just keep going. Like, how am I supposed to be a father? Like, how am I supposed to show up? Like, I just kept asking these questions, and like one step would happen, and then another step, and then another step. And then this woman shows up, and it was like the stars aligned, and I literally like found the woman that is a perfect match, like my soulmate for me. Like she elevates me, like a woman that supports me in anything and everything that I want to do. Like that was like a huge thing for me. And so I'm like starting to live this life. I'm like, wow, God did this, because I would have never made the adjustments or the moves that I made without direct instructions from God. Like I knew it was him. I knew it was his inspiration. It was his voice inside my own head. Like it was him giving me these downloads. It was him giving me these action steps, because there's no way I would have taken the actions that I took. And it was a result of listening to this voice that my life changed exponentially. So she shows up. She supports me. She makes me like the man I'm supposed to be. Like she helps me show up the way that I need to show up as a father, as a husband, as a business owner, as a leader. And I'm like, okay, this is exciting. So I keep walking with God. I keep asking God, like, what am I supposed to work on with my body and health? What am I supposed to work on with my financial purpose? How am I supposed to show up as a father? Like I kept asking these questions in my daily walks. And I would get sound bites. I would get little pieces. And I would start acting on these little pieces. And it was amazing what happened. Like my body, how many workout programs are out there, Matt? Like what would you say? Like what would put a number on how many workout?
God, I don't know. Millions.
Millions.
Yeah.
Probably trillions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
there's
there's
hundreds of millions, billions.
hundreds of millions. Something
Yeah.
huge, like probably not even a number that we're ever going to be able to come up with, right? I was kind of thinking the same thing. I'm like, how am I supposed to work out? Like, how am I supposed to like, because I've got to like, I know my body has to breathe and my muscle has to build. Like that's who I am. I'm an athlete, but how am I supposed to work out? Right? How am I supposed to eat? How many diets have you seen, Matt? A couple, right?
Oh yeah. Even on this show, just all the time, I'm trying to piece it together.
Oh, yeah. You know, you could do keto, you could do, low carb, high carb. I'm not even going to go through all of it.
Paleo,
Like,
intermittent fasting, meat only, vegan, fruitarian.
Yeah, fruitarian. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Or pescatarian. There's like words now for
Oh,
all
yeah.
the stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I'm sure that stuff is good for different people, but like, what's good for me was what I started asking. Like, what am I supposed to do? I'm not discounting anybody's programs. Like, I'm sure they're great. But what am I supposed to do, God? That's what I started asking. How am I supposed to eat? How am I supposed to work out and elevate my fitness? Like, what am I supposed to do? He started telling me, you eat this way, you lift this way. And all of a sudden I started getting really strong and like full of energy. Like, I'm in my early 40s and I feel like I'm 20 because of like a result of like following what I'm supposed to do that ends up in my lifestyle. So like I'm starting to do this stuff and my body like completely changes. And then I started getting all these toys that start coming into my life. Like I'm like a guy that always wants to go fast. Like super fast. Like I have race cars and I have motorcycles. And one of the things I noticed was like God start pushing me and prompting me to buy like toys. And I'm like, there's something going, like there's something wrong here. I didn't even feel worthy at one point. Like I was like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that you want me to buy this street bike that's like the top of the line? It's are you into street bikes at all, Matt?
I love them, but I've never been on them. I can handle a car, so I can relate
Okay.
more to that. But yeah, I would be in a fast car the second I could.
Yeah. We'll talk about the fast car in a second. We got a couple of those that we could talk about, but the bike, this was like the big aha moment for me. I conditioned myself not to buy like a street bike like a crotch rocket, because like I want to go fast. I'm going to kill myself. Like that was like my mentality. And then as I'm walking with God, God's like, no, you're going to buy this. You're going to buy a Kawasaki Ninja H2. Kawasaki Ninja H2 is the fastest production street bike available. You can't buy one from the factory faster. And I'm
yeah,
like,
and if
okay.
people don't know this too, like crotch rockets are ridiculous. Like they go so fast, they're obscenely fast. It's insane.
Yeah. So if people know a little bit about a street bike, but they don't know like what an H2 is, a Kawasaki Ninja. So just to give you like some numbers, it's 1,000 cc and it's supercharged. So it's not even just like, like it's way faster than the Hayabusa. It's like the fast one. And anyway, I'm like, what do you mean I'm supposed to buy this bike? He's like, buy the bike. I'm walking with him. He's like, buy the bike. So I buy the bike. And then literally like 2 weeks later, he's like, now you go back to that store and you buy that Harley that you wanted. And I'm like, what is going on here? I realized that God wants me to have these toys because it puts me in my power. When I'm in my power and I'm full of joy and excitement and happiness, I build stuff. I create things. I actually like show up the person that I need to show up. I can help people when I'm fulfilled, when I'm happy, when I'm full of abundance. So like that was another thing that I started realizing inside of my walks with God. Like he was giving me what my body and what my mind needed. And then here was the big one, was that my business started to thrive. And not my mortgage business, not my coaching business, but my real true passion, my calling started to thrive to a point to where it was a very easy way to be able to make the impact on the world that I wanted to make. But also like I was enjoying every single step of the way. Like I wasn't making a bunch of money and then feeling empty like we talked about earlier. Like I was fulfilled. And I literally like feel complete now because I'm walking with God. Like he's told me strategically what I'm supposed to focus on and what I'm supposed to do. And like literally like what I wanted to share with you and everyone that's listening is there is an opportunity for you to live a full life of abundance. And it starts with you just talking and walking with God. And when you actually are strategic about what questions you're asking, you'll get the strategic answers. And when you get the right answers and you take action on those answers that are inspired by God, like you're going to live a full, abundant life. Like there's not one thing that God can't help you with. There's not one marketing piece that he can't help you figure out. There's not one sales, adjustment that you need to make that he can't help you figure out. There's not one fulfillment issue. There's not one any issue when it comes to making money and your true purpose that God won't direct you and help you. Same thing with your body, same thing with your relationships, same thing with being a father or a husband or whatever. Like he will be there to help you. That's what's been so exciting about like how I've been living my life now, is that I walk with God and God directs me on where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to focus on. It's been amazing.
Bro, well, I really appreciate you sharing your story in detail, because it's really beautiful and practical, because it comes back to one very simple concept, which is to walk with God every day. And it's interesting because it reminds me of a journaling practice that I had, and I haven't been, to be honest, in the last couple of years, through for a bit of a loop, but I was consistent for years. And when I would have the podcast and talk to different people, and they would go through those stories that you would talk about, where they would live a life of materialism, basically pursuit of money, which is what we're trained to do, and then they would reach a very unhappiness or some painful outcome. They would shift things, and then change it into something more fulfilling, where in my journaling practice I would ask, like, how can I be of the highest good of all? How can I live in alignment with God? And I would be communicating on paper daily, so when I go back from, my life, and everything I wanted to do is in those journals and
Yeah.
more, like, so when I had way too many near death experiences, I felt like, oh, my work is done. I didn't feel like, I should have done something or change anything. And it was the consistent practice to speak with God, to at least inquire and ask for guidance. And, for me, I didn't get everything I always wanted, but like, it didn't need, like, because I went in reverse, I didn't need to make the money to go do it. I was living in a multi-million-dollar house in Whistler, snowboarding every single day. I traveled to 25 different countries. I did it all with basically no money. Somehow, at one specific example, when I went to go train with David Lombear Senepass, a Native American elder, I knew I was supposed to go do that. And, I did my practice. I just knew it because over time you keep jumping in. And I had a $27,000 loan. That's how I got, through bits of it. So slowly chew through that baby. And then I had to buy a plane ticket to the US, and I'm Canadian, so my money sucks. I wasn't making very money at the time. Like, the coaching goes up and down, and the US is expensive, nowhere to live, nowhere to rent. And I was looking at rent, it was about $1,000 a month US plus the bills. And I was like, you know what? I know I need to go. So I put the plane ticket, on my card there, and I only had like a few bucks I could even access from my bank. And upon arriving, I had a place to stay in a beautiful house with amazing people who I'm still friends with. They're absolutely incredible. And then I had a bunch of clients all sign up at once and clear a lot of the debt that I had. Not all of it. That big chunk is still sitting there waiting for me, but the debt that I had, so then I could go and mentor with this Native American elder for a long time. And when you do that, it is God. It's something beyond you, but I had to take the steps, and I also had to communicate and ask to know where the guidance is coming from. And the last thing I would just wanted to share is, one of the people that I wrote about in my book, Zen Athlete, Tyrone, he's the only like real legit enlightened person I think I've ever met. And I can't get a hold of him again, but he gave me a book to read. And it's basically about this person going through 7 doors and meeting 7 angels when he's going to die. And if anybody knows this book, please tell me, because I've been trying to find it again. I can't remember, but he has like he has a death experience, and he meets 7 angels, and he goes through all this different process. But at the end of the book, when he comes back to life, basically, right, and he goes through all those trials and tribulations, he takes his card and he goes to the hotel where he needs to stay, and he gets the nicest room. And it was like, it's okay to live in abundance. God will provide for you. And, I just thought that was an interesting way to end the book. You know what I mean? To say, all abundance is provided for you. And when we're looking at all of these challenges in the world, I think for some people who are struggling, that could be a tough pill to swallow. So there's a lot of questions I'd love to ask you, but do you want to comment on any of that first?
Yeah, I just love what you're saying. I really do. Like, you literally, we're aligned. Our message is our belief system is very, very much on the same path, which is exciting. Like, there's a reason why we're together right now. And I just love that. I love to be able to look back and see that. So that's the comment I have for you. Yeah, please ask me any questions you want.
Yeah, there's so many. Like, the first one, when you say walk with God, like, and when you hear God, are you saying like you go for a morning walk and then you ask all the questions and you're kind of like in a walking prayer? How do you do that specifically, and how do you receive the guidance specifically?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I developed this over many, many walks. So the information I'm going to give you was not something I just decided to do one morning. I started the action, and then as I kept going and going and going, I would tweak it to a point to where, like, I'm very strategic in my life. Like, that's my favorite word, is strategic. My wife understands this too. Like, everything I do is very, very thought out and very efficient. So I'm going to answer the question here in a second, but I just want you to know, like, this has been many walks that I've taken, and the ultimate reason why I got to where I am today is because I figured out how to open up and get God's guidance, like, quickly every single morning. So Like what I'm going to say is like very valuable. Like I really want people to lock in. And if you just listen to this and you start doing it, you can change your life, like literally starting right after you're done listening to this broadcast. Like that's how powerful this is. So this is what I started doing. First thing is, yes, Matt, I would walk. I would get up. I get up early every morning. I get up before the sun rises or very close to that. And I start my walks then. You don't have to get up real early and do it like first thing before the sun comes up, but that's just something that I do. Now, what I noticed is that I've got to walk. I got to get into what I call a flow state. I can't be like sitting and like think I'm going to get the revelation. I can't like meditation, all this stuff is great, but this is not like a sitting down meditative state. This is a walking, being outside, being connected to God, and it's a flow state. You follow me so far? Like you got to be walking.
Yeah, 100%.
So okay. And so when I started walking, what I noticed is that I had to be very strategic on which questions I was asking and how I was setting up the actual walk. So I tried a bunch of different things, but what I'm about to say is like the way that it works the best. So the first thing is that I would be in this flow state and I would start walking, and I would usually like have a cup of coffee and like I'd have my cell phone in my pocket and my keys. That would be it. Like I'd drive to the park. I would go somewhere that's not my home, not my backyard, not my neighborhood, but somewhere different. I would go somewhere different. I would jump out of the truck and then I would have my coffee and my phone and my keys, and that's all I would have. And I would just start walking. And I would set an intention would be step one. Setting an intention, meaning I would literally tell God, this is what I'm looking to work on for today. It'd be great if we could work on this, but obviously I'm open to whatever, but this is what I would like to focus on. This is my preference. And the reason I would set it up that way is I was giving God like my preference on what I'd like, help with or assistance with or direction on, but I'm still leaving it open to where like God is God and God is the boss. I'm not the boss. So I'm not coming in here demanding this is what we're going to work on. This is what I would like to work on. This is what I'd like to focus on. This is the area I'd like to have answers on, or this situation is what I'd like to have your guidance on to navigate through. But obviously I'm open to whatever. So that would be the first step, is to set an intention. The second step that I realized that was massively important was to get into gratitude. And the reason that I needed to get into gratitude right after I set an intention, because sometimes the intention is not, it's not positive, it's fear-based. Like, hey, I need help fixing this problem, God. So that's what I'd like to work on today. Like there's a little bit of fear in that. So I noticed that like I've got to be open. I've got to open this channel to be able to hear the voice of God, to be able to get the download that I'm looking for. So I would get into gratitude. And what I would do is I would review the last 24 hours of my life. The last 24 hours, I am grateful for this. I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful, I'm grateful. Me and my wife had an amazing dinner together. I woke up and woke up to a huge smile and a kiss. And my kids, we got to shoot some baskets last night with me and my son, or I had a great conversation with my daughter last night, whatever it is. Like I would have these reviews of the last 24 hours that I'd be grateful for. And then I would set myself up for like success in this walk. So the third part of my walk is where I'm literally like laying it on the table, is what I call it. And what I mean by that is I'm telling God exactly where I'm at. Like, Matt, God already knows like where we're at. Like he's been watching us, like he knows. But this is a chance for me to like get honest with God. Like, God, I know that you know this, but I just want you to know that I know. Like that's the conversation. So it's almost like a mirror exercise. Like, God, this is where I'm at in my financial purpose today. God, this is where I'm at in my body and health. This is where I'm at in my relationships. Like, yesterday I worked out, but I didn't work out as hard as I was supposed to. Yesterday I didn't eat as well as I needed to eat, or the opposite. I ate great yesterday. My workouts were on point. Like that could be like where I'm at, with my body and my health, or with my business. Everything is moving great. Everything is exciting. Or, it's, man, the marketing's not hitting the way that it needs to hit. Like I need help, whatever it is. Like I'm just letting God know where I'm at, because when I do that and I'm being honest, then things are going to change for me. It's very important to get honest. So that would be like the third step in my walk. And then the fourth step is where I'm literally asking God for the direct downloads, for the coaching, for the inspiration. And this is where God like will speak directly to me. Now I hear his voice. Sometimes it's an inspired thought or an image or like a download of a lot of information that I'm getting, or it's God's voice himself. It comes in different ways, but it comes in every single day and every single morning when I'm walking. So I ask strategic questions. God, what is my focus and direction for me to maximize my financial purpose? And then I pause and he starts speaking to me. And then I say, okay, God, what is my direction and focus that I need to have to maximize my body and health? And then I ask the same question about my relationships to maximize my relationships. And then I pause. And as I'm walking and I'm in this flow state, I hear his voice. And this is what I started doing was like, it got so good. Like the information was coming at me so big and so vibrant and so much information, so many nuggets. I didn't want to miss anything, Matt. So I started literally, I'd pull out my cell phone. I would go on like a notepad and I would hit the little speak to text and I would just like speak all of the coaching and the revelation and all of the words that's coming into my head from God, or the pictures or the images or the thoughts or the ideas. I would just speak them out. And so I wasn't like slowing down, like trying to type on my phone, or I wasn't like pulling out a pen and a paper. Like I was just speaking and I was in this flow state. And then what I would do, and what I do every single day now, is I literally have all of these paragraphs of information. And I go to my vibe board, or you can just grab a piece of paper or whatever, and I just write out what it is that I need to do for the day. And I organize it. And then that's how I live my life now, is I live inspired action. I live like off of God's direction. So when he tells me to do A, B, and C, I do A, B, and C. That's all I do for the day. And it's been, I mean, an incredible, abundant life now, because I'm able to just live an inspired life. I don't try to like make decisions on my own anymore.
Wow. Well, that's beautiful. And, it's interesting because it weaves in a lot of different practices. In the last podcast that I had with Brad Kearns, he talked about walking in the morning. And I shared a story about how Mark England told me about how he would see all these elderly people in great shape. They would talk about walking. That's kind of like passive, it's good to walk in the morning. We know that. So that's coming up, but also setting the intention to communicate with God. One thing said about meditation is, prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening. The challenge with meditation, because it is passive, is very challenging for a lot of people. Some people, I do believe, can get a great benefit from meditation, and I think walking might make it a little bit easier. I'm a fan of cold training for certain people too, who've never learned how to quiet their mind. If they can't meditate, they can't do this and that. So I'm like, okay, well, we'll do cold training because it forces you so hard into the present moment, you're going to get faster. That's a very intense, but it's a tool that works. And so when you're sharing your process, it reminds me of something I learned a long time ago called image streaming, where you would ask a question and then you would go and basically try to go from the subconscious. They didn't really talk about God, which I think would be a really good intentional upgrade. My intention here is to communicate with God. And then whatever comes up, you just keep recording for 2 minutes straight, whatever it is. And then as you decipher it, you're going to notice there's a lot there. And you could, we're all connected. It's my belief we're all connected to God at all times. And so whatever's coming out for those 2 minutes, especially if you ask God to share and speak to you, then you're going to get something from there. And the subconscious mind is all connected to God anyway. And you'll be able to weave through your own nonsense of your own, identity or ego, if you've done a little bit of work and kind of got that far. And the other one it reminds me of is left-hand writing, where you're having the same intention, but what you're sharing is more clear, it's more intentional, it's practiced on a daily basis, and it's just a very simple, powerful, and intentional process to communicate with God. And there is no way that can be a bad thing. And the way that you receive that information is going to be different for everybody. So it's pretty amazing that you are able to hear it, get the downloads, and you dropped out, but you're back in the game. I just kept talking. Great to have you back.
Yes.
So I was just saying that, that intentional process each and every day, I think people are going to receive that. I think it's personally phenomenal. You hear a voice, like I would love to know, what does that voice sound like? That is absolutely amazing. Most people can relate to downloads or information. right? But I
Yeah.
don't think very many, it's just like working out, you know what I mean? Or like I say, squats or deadlifts. These spiritual principles that are in the Bible and these old texts, they're not that complicated. Like when you say that, it really resonates with me. I have not done that as a daily practice. I believe my journaling practice is very similar, but not as tight as your practice. I think it's a very good practice, but I think that one is a little bit of a tighter practice, right? You look at, weightlifting, somebody who can squat or deadlift 1,000 pounds, which happens. There's multiple people on the planet that can do that. It's completely absurd. It's an absurd thing, but it's a simple
Yeah.
practice over time. And so what you're steering toward is a spiritual practice that couldn't be any more important and profound. And you can add on to that, add on to, whatever your spiritual book is, you know what I mean? Whether it's the Bible or something else, or something you're going to integrate in that day. But the honest intent, I think I'm gonna have to get a person who really knows the Bible well back on here, but there's got to be a lot of verses that talk about the honest intent to communicate with God and for God to lead your life and for you to be connected and you to be led. So do you want to just talk on that, rant? Because I could go for a while, I think.
Yeah.
Too.
Oh yeah.
I just love it, man.
Absolutely.
I think that's
So,
brilliant.
yes, thank you. So first thing I do want to mention about the Bible. I don't quote the Bible. I don't know the Bible very well. I do believe in God. I believe in going to church. I don't go every single week. If you do go to church, great. If you read the Bible, great. If you don't read the Bible, that's fine. If you don't go to church, that's fine too. It's God. Like there's no rules in my message on how this will work if you do this practice. So I want to first say that, like, just know there's one requirement. The one and only requirement is that you believe in God or you believe in something bigger than you that's going to give you the information when you ask for it. If you can have that foundational truth, like this practice will work for you every single time. Like there's not one morning that I wake up and not get answers. Not one. I got answers today. I got answers yesterday. I will get answers tomorrow. I know this. And I know that I can't live my life without that. So I do know that there's a lot of spots in the Bible that talk about, ask and he will be there for you and all of that. Like ask and he will answer. There's many quotes. Again, I don't quote the Bible. I just do know that it's there. And you should get someone that's like really well versed on it. And you'd be surprised how many times every once in a while when I do go to church, like I hear them quoting the Bible, the pastor or the priest quoting the Bible, and they're like literally talking about seeking God's direction, like in different ways and in different words and in different books inside the Bible. And I think it's very powerful for people to understand, like the only requirement with the message that I have today is that you just got to believe that there's something bigger and better than you. If you can do that, then you're not walking with yourself, you're walking with God, and God's going to help you. It's that simple.
Yeah, I love that. And I think with religions and churches, I think there's positives and, challenges with the institutions, and with each one specifically different challenges.
Yeah.
But the idea I could say is like, okay, fitness is just such an easy one. Everybody goes to church to be more fit, but then nobody goes to the gym after. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's basically you go in there, it's okay that you're, it's like you're communicating, yes, it's possible, but what are you going to get up and do? There's, the analogies of like, you have to do the work, prayer like looks a lot like hard work, but as long as it's inspired action, you're willing to do the work. When you're really passionate and aligned and fulfilled and where you're going, you're willing to put in those hours and you're proud of the work. And that's the most important thing. When you look at, when I've had those near-death experiences for myself, I was like, holy, like, your life does flash a little bit before your eyes. You reflect. It's like, I'm proud of a lot of the work I've done. I don't think I've been perfect in any single way. And there's a lot I wish that I, could improve upon, but like the general premise of the work is like, I'm proud of a lot that I've done that stayed, that I tried to do my best. And it was something of meaning, of purpose by my own definition, through my own understanding of myself, with the asking of God. But the other thing I think God will do is that he'll choose something that's unique to your gifts. He's not going to get you to do something that you hate. It's going to line up with who you are, and that's going to be best for everyone as well. So you're more in alignment with yourself. You're more in alignment with God, the creator spirit, and then you're more in alignment with everyone else. And you're somebody in this environment that's putting out a lot of positive energy. If you think about mirror neurons and what you're viewing in the world, especially now with all this, to me, overt satanic stuff, we don't have to get into that, but overt, harm and danger and predatory, whether it's just from social media, whether it's from news and movies, and I studied a lot of psychological warfare, and I can see it in the ads, and I can see it openly. So when that all exists, and it does, and you're a walking example of like, put on the armor of God, or being connected to God, or being in a state where you are fulfilled, where you are confident, where you are fearless. That is so powerful, and people see it and they know it's true. You don't have to fake it. Just like when someone is really in shape, they're not faking being in shape. They are doing that. And we have the opportunity to be spiritually in shape.
That's right. Absolutely. Here's one thing I do want to touch on that you mentioned about psychological warfare. There's a good versus evil situation going on Earth, in the US, in Canada, everywhere. And there's evil forces that are coming against us. Here's the thing that I know. The more men, alpha men, that walk with God and are getting the answers directly from God, not social media, not from the press, not from news, not from other countries that control our press, not from any of that, but from the true source of our existence, from God. When men are connected to God and are showing up as the husbands and the fathers and the business owners that they need to be, that is instructed by God, our world is going to change. Like, I know my mission and my true purpose is to connect as many men, alpha men, as I can to God directly. And when I do that, what's going to happen is the world is going to change. Like, I am going to change the world because I'm connecting men to God in the masses. And what I mean by that is, like, the more men that walk with God and hear the true essence of God's voice and his instructions and his direction, that is going to be men that are led by God, not led by BS, not led by propaganda, not led by the evil. And our world is going to change as a result of more men being instructed and guided by God.
Wow. Well, I love that. And I think that when you said that, I got chills, man. I love it. I put this out to my podcast group, and people, I got deleted a lot, but if you follow me on Telegram and on the email, you've seen it, like, the best prayers and the best intentions, or things that you've really enjoyed. And one that came up for me was just like, okay, if I'm here on earth, what's the thing that I can do? And it's connect as many people to God as possible. So to hear someone say that out loud, that's been outside of my own head, I think is truly profound, because that is a very pure thought. And I think it's almost impossible to come at it egotistically to do, and I think even if you did, you get smited. There's like, well, all right, we can't. There's a video of a girl that's on the internet who basically laughed at everyone's face for not taking the Kool-Aid thing, and then passes out on stage, like, literally, like, the timing is just so crazy about what happened. So, and when we talk about the evil forces, I'm glad you kind of shared the same idea. They're like, it's on overdrive right now, and it can be frightening. And I think they wouldn't do everything. There's these memes going out there, like, they wouldn't put all this into propaganda, all of this stuff. They wouldn't do everything if they were going to win. You know what I mean? It's like, they know they're going to lose. It's like, I give the example of, if you have one man who, like, I know martial arts, I'm pretty good, I'm pretty in shape, right? And if I come into your family and you don't know anything, I'm probably not going to win the fight if you're protecting your family. Even though I'm way better than you, I'm way stronger than you, I'll probably kick your ass, right? If you're defending your family and fighting for something, you'll be able to, you'll figure something out, because you're fighting for something. And that feeling of, fighting is one feeling, to protect, but to grow. If you could take that same, what you would do for your mother, your father, your children, how you would protect them, what you do for them is anything. It's a beautiful feeling. You wouldn't think about it 1 second, someone you loved, a best friend, you would do anything for them in the most pure, righteous, beautiful way. So if you could take that same energy and that same purity into a gift you had for the world, into how you lived your life, and you were able to see God work through you. And I love the distinction that you're saying, if people are getting God's guidance, not mine, it's not come to the
No.
Matt Belair podcast and get Matt's guidance and he'll tell you what to do. It's like, no. There's a bigger thing that you need to learn how to connect to in your own way. We're sharing different ways to do that, but what's the practice you can commit to? And this one is very simple. It's wonderful. I think it's great.
Yeah, I want to touch on something again here. This is like really important. Like, look, coaches, coaching programs, masterminds, all of that stuff is very, very powerful. It's very smart for you to go and do that as a human. You need to be influenced by outside influence. You need coaching. You need inspiration. You need outside sources. Here's the only thing that I say, though, in front of that is if you can have God guide you on who those individuals are, who you should link up with, who you should hire, you're not going to miss. You're not going to spend money on that program that you shouldn't have bought. You're not going to spend money on hiring that coach you should have never hired because you felt something because they had a good sales pitch or they had a good marketing piece. Like, if God instructs you and guides you and you're inspired by God and that's the coach that shows up in your path, that's the coach that you hire. You see like the difference there? Like, so many people like think, oh, they're the greatest coach, man. They're going to help me with my marketing, or they're going to help me make sales. They're going to help me with fulfillment. Like, what does God say? That's my first step. What does God say? And people that do that, they don't miss. They don't miss in life.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the right teacher comes at the right time. And
Yes.
if you know how to discern, right? Some people say, well, who's the right person for me? That's how you do it. That's how you start right there by getting super clear. And some people call it their own intuition. And I think it's just smarter to give that power to God or the greater force. When you go to sleep at night, is it you that's breathing? Is it you're so special that you were created, that your body's keeping you alive? No, there's something else doing that. Something formed you. This is such a mysterious world, and everything in this world, if you look at the material realm, which basically all spiritual teachings tell you to overcome, which you were in there and you got to bathe in it, and that sounds fun. I want to do that, but it will leave you empty if there's no fulfillment. You know what I mean? That you can have all the cars, all the nice restaurants, and you can even play this out in your mind if you want to, because you'll realize it very quick. If you just did that to excess, there would be emptiness at the end. So where fulfillment comes in is knowing who you are, what your spiritual connection is, being fulfilled and being who you truly are. And I think that's always being of service to other people. I don't think you can get to real fulfillment just serving yourself, right? And that's basically what Satanism is serving the self. And, it doesn't matter what harm you would cause other people, it's all about you and then your family. And you can get to a level of like contentment, but true, honest fulfillment, I don't think is possible to gain that way. I think that it's a dead end. And so many people like you have done that. They got the financials, and you weren't doing it in a mean way. You just got all the riches and you're like, holy, I have everything. I'm in my RV, then I'm going to my Ferrari onto a boat. Why am I so sad? And it depends on like who are you with and all these other things. It won't make you happy. It's nice for a day, but when it becomes your lifestyle and you don't have all those other pieces, then it's just going to be empty.
That's right. Absolutely. I was literally looking around going, this sucks, with more money in the bank account than I knew what to spend, spend it on. Like, what am I going to buy? Like, this sucks. Like, what is wrong with me? Like, that's literally how this came to fruition. That's how the God walk happened. Matt, I want to ask your permission. Can I do something special for you and everyone that's listening? Because I really want to do that. Is that okay if I give everyone something that's very powerful?
100%. Yeah, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah. So I created the Godwalk app. This app is something that is what I do and what I use every single day. It's setting the intention, getting into gratitude, laying it on the table, asking God for the guidance, and then actually having the app so you can record the guidance inside the app. So then you have something, you have marching orders, you have like the nuggets recorded, and you have the training to understand, like when I'm walking with God, like, is it his voice or is it my voice? Like, how do you determine that? Like, am I in the flow state right? Am I doing this right? Like, there's so many things inside this Godwalk app that I want to share with everyone that gives them all the answers, gives them the structure. It's available in the App Store. The Godwalk app's available on Google Play and iOS. Here's the thing. If you go to the App Store, you guys can download it right now. It's $399 to download it on the App Store. What I want to do that's special for everyone is I want to make it available for everyone that's listening to this broadcast for $27. Literally $27. You get full access to everything. So if you don't believe me, go to the App Store first and look at it. It's $399. You can purchase it. It's the same Godwalk app. It's Godspeed with Daniel. It's everything that you need. It's everything that I use on a daily basis. It's there for you. Or you can go to godspeedwithdaniel.net, godspeedwithdaniel.net, 1S, godspeedwithdaniel.net, and you can purchase the Godwalk app for $27. And you're only going to know this because you're listening to this broadcast with Matt, and you're one of Matt's followers. You're following Matt and you're listening to Matt, and I'm making it available for you for $27 because I want to, and because I feel very called to do that. I don't make this offer to everyone. I don't know, Matt, if you've heard some of my other podcasts, me being a guest on other people's channels, I don't do this for every single opportunity. I just feel inspired to do it for this one. So hopefully the viewers that are listening that want to walk with God and have that structure, but then also have the device and the app to be able to record everything inside of it and get the training to know that you're in a flow state and you're doing it, to where you're channeling God's voice and not your own. It's $27. You can go to godspeedwithdaniel.net and pick it up.
Well, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. And I'm sure the audience will. I'm definitely interested in checking out and trying it, and happy to pay that. Now, people are going to kill me if I don't ask you this question, and apologies if it's offensive, but I'd love to hear your answer. Why is it so offensive, or why is it so expensive? I have some buddies who built apps, so I feel like I know the answer why. I know one buddy who went bankrupt building an app, but people are going to ask, if it's connecting to God, why is it so much money?
Yeah. Well, first thing is, that's a great question. I'm not offended at all.
Okay, good.
Let's first,
after being so kind and giving us a massive discount, I go, hey, screw you. Why is it so? I know people are going to ask, so I'd love to hear.
Yeah. Let's talk about this for a second. If this app, let's say if this app actually does what I say it does, it connects you directly to God. It gives you every single answer you're looking for your business, for your body, and your relationships. It gives you a routine that you can start your morning off and actually live and create a life full of abundance. What is an app like that really worth? Like, think about that for a second.
Oh, yeah. If it actually does that, I think it's priceless.
It's priceless. 100,000, 500,000, $1 million. Like, if it truly would give you everything that you're looking for in your business, your body, and your relationships, it should be valued at such a higher price. So that's the first way that I'll answer it. The second way that I'll answer it is God wants it to be charged. God is not for free. And what I mean by that is, if you give an app to somebody that's free, they're not going to treat it with the respect that they need to treat it. That's why I don't make it available for $27 to everyone, because then people will treat it as a $27 app, not a $400 app. So I'm only doing this for you because I really like you, and I could just feel the audience. They're people that are spiritually led, and they will definitely walk with God, being able to pick it up for $27. There's some people that want it, that would pay $399, but they can't afford it. Well, guess what? You can afford $27. Everyone can afford $27 to walk with God. And then the last answer or way that I'm going to answer this question is, apps are very, very expensive to build. To be on Google Play and iOS and to actually have an app that's functional was a lot of money. I'm not going to tell you guys what the price tag was on, like, how much the tech was to actually create this, but it was very, very expensive, massively expensive. And just realize that you're not just getting an app. You're not just getting like unlimited God walks. you're also getting the training inside. It's not training of me telling you what to do. It's training on me showing you how I walk with God. There's sample God walks inside the training to where you can see me actually using the app and actually walking with God and channeling God's voice. So I'm like revolutionizing the app store single-handedly. I am, because there's not very many people that are putting training inside an app. And I'm doing that simply because you need it. You don't need to go to a website and log into a Kajabi or a ClickFunnels account and like go to the training and listen to the portals. Like, no, it's inside the app. Everything you need is inside the app.
All right. Well, I appreciate you answering that question. And I just want to share like a story with the audience. I remember when I left Whistler to make money so I could travel the world selling cars. And I am very good at selling things, but I don't like overcharging people for stuff. And everyone always told me the more you charge for people, the happier they're gonna be. And I was like, this is such bullshit. Like, there's no effing way. And I swear to God, like the people who paid more for their car were happier, and the people that paid just like $100 over, or if I would be at the dealership and say, look, like I'm here today, like this is what we paid for it. I give them the bottom line deals. Never sold one car that way ever. And and so if we did the other way, they'd buy them. But also I've gone through this whole process with my Zen Athlete book and my program, and in this conundrum that I've had where people, they perceive if you have it for free as valueless. You know, I wanted every athlete ever to go through Zen Athlete. I want every person who wants to learn about peak performance and mindfulness and how to, you know, achieve greatness to get that book. But if I give it away for free, they do perceive it as valueless, and they're a lot less likely to go through. But when they invest in it, they're much more likely to go through. So it is a weird psychological thing that is totally true, and it's unfortunate. It's one that I don't like accepting, but like you said, it is an absolute real thing. So I just appreciate you sharing that 2 cents with that.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I want to help everyone. And like I said, my mission is to connect as many men. Women can get the app too, but I am literally specifically looking for connecting as many men as I can to God. And when that happens, the world changes. And us kind of going back and forth and stuff. That's why, you know, there's a cost to it. And that's why there's such a discount also, because of where we're at and everyone that you have and what you're involved in here, Matt. So I'm like really excited to do what I'm like built to do, which is connect people to men, like, or connect, you know, men to God. Like that's what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm doing that. I'm living that life. So I feel fulfilled myself doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Well, that's beautiful, man. And I appreciate that. And I invite everybody to check that out. It's something I'm going to try. I've been getting the nudge to do the walks. You know, the journaling for me is, for the first time ever, petered off. I've been years of every day doing that journal process. And so, you know, getting up and being active and going into a flow state. When I had one of my mystical experiences, it was from a walking meditation. And then something crazy happened. If you look at my YouTube video of Thoth, I had to retell that story to a friend who hadn't heard it. And I was like, oh yeah, I can't believe that happened. Like that didn't make any sense. So there is, you know, there is a lot of evidence for another realm, but there's profound evidence for God. And I think that it's up to us whether we want to communicate with God or not. And this is a very simple and easy and practical way to do that. I'm coaching a young man right now, and I've coached a lot of other people. I started to coach more in a little bit more in fitness. Like people ask me these questions because they see some of the videos that I have, and I'm not an expert in it, but I can almost, you know, deadlift 475 and squat. It's getting up there. It's not the strongest in the world coming from something else, but like that's nothing compared to the guys that I'm looking at. But their process wasn't complicated. What I share people to have like strength, or it's not complicated, but it has to be repeated over time. And there has to be this willingness to go do it. It has to be in them. And so I feel like that same willingness needs to be there to connect with God, to be guided with God. And whether you know, if you don't want to do, you know, Daniel's process, and you know, Daniel, I don't like your process, but you got your own, do that every mother effing day, and I guarantee you'll connect with God. It's that willingness, right? But this is one that's worked really well for you, and it's simple, and it adds a lot of other benefits to it. And so, you know, why not give it a go?
Yeah, absolutely. We need to stay connected, Matt. So however that looks, let's stay in touch.
That
especially
sounds good.
after you have a couple God walks underneath your belt, like reach back out to me and let's jump on a call together and let's talk about it. Cause I know things will happen. You'll have those mystical experiences like right away. And
Awesome.
that drives me. It really does.
Awesome. Well, man, this has been a blast. I appreciate you coming out the other side. I'm sorry you had to go through 2 years of on the couch, alcohol, crying, whatever you had to do there. But I'm glad you're on the other side with a very pure mission. I invite people to check out the app. Thank you for the generous discount. I'll take advantage of it myself. And also too, like as a podcaster, people always want stuff for free, like I could put out, like I barely get by. Well, let's just say like the podcast doesn't crush it. Let's just say that. And that's 550 episodes of a long time, of a lot of effort, and contributing to people who you think are doing good work in the world, I think is important. And that's something, I've learned in the, what I don't even know what you call it, like the spiritual space, the festival space, the people trying to do something positive, is like honoring each other's worth and value, I think is important as well. So just thank you for that offer to the audience. And I'm happy to contribute as well. Is there anything that you wish that I had asked or that you want to leave the listeners with before we close the show?
I just want to remind everyone something that was like an overarching theme of what we've talked about today was I was always, regardless of success or not success, I was always searching for what I was supposed to do. What was my purpose? And through consistently walking with God, I created and found it. And it was only because I was consistent walking with God. So however that looks for you, that is what's required for you to really truly line up with what you're supposed to be doing and really answer the $1 million question, which is like, why are you here? What are you supposed to do with your life? And I think when you answer that question through a consistent walk or a consistent relationship with God, you'll live that full fulfilled life that you've always been looking for.
Yeah, I love that. And I see a comment in the YouTube here that just says, we're all one in God, and the self alone is. And I just thought of it as like, oh, the self is enough to, like, this is how I interpret it anyway. The self alone is enough. And I was like, well, that's kind of ego-y. And then I was like, oh, well, no. What I remember from working with David Lonebear is that we all have access to God. We don't need a gatekeeper. We don't need to go to a spiritual person, a spiritual guru. The Catholics have it set up where you got to go to this priest and he's going to forgive you your sins. You walk through this door. You know what I mean? You do a crab walk and you're all set up, and then go and do these 40 things.
And four air squats and then you're there.
Yeah, so this is like, no, you have a direct call line to God. Everybody has that gift, because I believe that we were all created by God and we are here in God's creation. And so if we are indeed God's children, and this is a belief set, that's why atheists, if I hear them talk, or other philosophies, I hear them talk and they don't have that connection, there's an emptiness that resonates with them. There isn't a completeness, and maybe they could be right. I don't believe they are. I've experienced things, over and over that are just so profound that it couldn't be anything other than some sort of divine intelligence, and God is an easy way to use that word, acting force, right? But if you don't want to believe it or see it, you don't have to, and you can continue to live your whole life that way, and until you probably get these nudges and these experiences that are trying to wake you up, but you can choose to ignore them as well. So just knowing that we all have access to God directly through both, but it does create our effort, right? Everybody, that's what with the men's stuff, I do some of the men's work too, and I was like, everyone could deadlift 500 pounds. Like, I'm almost there. I just learned how to do it way late. If I would have known this in my early 20s, and it wouldn't have changed anything else, I would have just added, or squat. You know what I mean? It's like I could have been crazy strong because it's in my capability, doing nothing superhuman. And that's what the monks did with breaking stone. They didn't do anything crazy. They just did something silly like poking a stone and learning how to meditate, for years. And then they could break stone with 2 fingers. It doesn't make any sense. But it's that consistency over time that really proves to show supernatural results of what it seems to be.
Let me ask you a quick question, Matt. You look really lean. How much do you weigh?
215.
So you're deadlifting 475 and you weigh 215?
Well, I started eating a lot more, and I'm only like 5'9", so I'm like a beefcake right now.
You got to realize something though. You weigh 215 and you're deadlifting 475. Well, that's huge. Like that's, I don't deadlift. I'm sure I could deadlift some pretty good numbers. I'm a heavier dude, but like that's a big deal. Like I don't think people realize that. Like that's huge. That's like the little guy that can bench like some serious weight. Like deadlifting is no joke. When you weigh 215 and you're deadlifting more than double that, like that's a big deal. Really is.
Yeah,
So
I
wow.
appreciate that. Yeah, it is funny because I shouldn't weigh this much as a snowboarder forever, weighing like 190. So I think I put it all in my butt and my legs. But again, the reason why I shared is because it's in the physical realm, right? And all I changed was I started to add that exercise over a period of a few years, right, to everything else. And to my own surprise, I kept putting on weight. So imagine you knew that before, right? And so when you hear the right process and information for the goal you have, and if the goal you have is to be more connected with God, why not put a simple process in place? Why not commit to that process, right? And then look every day. And so your app is just a really easy way to go look at it and say, okay, well, here's one. And I don't know of one that exists. I know of my own accountability, right, through the journaling, things like that, but often we can kind of get sidetracked. So whatever an individual can do to make that their highest priority, I think that for me is just like, you know, of all the podcasts I do, sometimes it's like, man, so simple. Like, the hell was I doing? Like, that's such a great idea. So, so amazing work. I appreciate you. If people want to check out the app or they want to follow your work or if they want to stay connected, where should they go?
Yeah. So to get the app for the $27, Godspeed with Daniel.net, godspeedwithdaniel.net. You can also check us out on any one of the handles, all the social media channels, Godspeed with Daniel. So Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all the cool stuff. We're there too. But literally, if you want to walk with God and capture the discount, don't download it on the App Store. Just go to godspeedwithdaniel.net and you can purchase it for $27.
Awesome. Well, that's appreciated. I appreciate you coming on the show. I'm excited to check it out and test it for myself and recommit, you know, and even in actually, I keep getting distracted and closing down, but you know, in baptism, what that really is a commitment to God. You know, commit to it. And in the Bible, it says you cannot serve mammon or you cannot serve two masters. You cannot serve mammon and God. You can't serve materialism and money and God. But if you put God first, abundance will follow, but it's got to be in the right way. It can't be, oh, I would serve God if I knew my pay would be settled. And you know, it doesn't work like that. It's got to be that first. And then whatever the result is, and I can tell you in my own life of all the things that I've done, I didn't do it with a big bank account, but I did exactly the most exciting, fulfilling thing. I would had billions of dollars, wouldn't matter. I needed to go there and do those things. I got to do all of it. And I always had enough to do it. And I watched how, you know, miracles happened to make that work. So, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate you. And yeah, we'll stay in touch for sure.
Thanks for having me. We'll talk soon.
Okay. My pleasure. See you, everybody. Peace.